4, 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to the United Stand. We've got a couple of guests. It is via Skype. It's a thundery night in Birmingham, so we may have a little bit of a problem with connections, but audios should be fine. Lots to get through in the show today. In fact, whilst I'm chatting, I'll just tell you about Oh, we don't want that. The topics we're going to discuss. We will be talking about Paul Pogba's arrival and what that means to people like Memphis and Chris Smalling. We'll be talking transfer news. We'll be talking your ideal defensive midfielder. Fellaini will rear his head. And also, some of the little research I've done. I did say yesterday that I'd watched the Southampton game back twice. There are some interesting facts I can read out. Back end of the show. For those who are living on cloud 9, might just burst that bubble a little bit, or cloud, and give you some real facts. And maybe, start of the season's fantastic, but there may be some things that we need to look at. But I'm joined by Key, who tried to get on last week. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing well. Finally on.
Good. And also Alex. Like I say, it's not visually as good as we'd hoped, but that's something to do with bad weather in Birmingham. But first of all, first topic. I need to get the live comments up as well. Let's talk about the Paul Pogba arrival. I mean, obviously, Southampton game's been done to death. It seems like it was a long time ago as well on Friday. But in relation to Paul Pogba's arrived, Alex. We were waxing lyrical about him. I remember Memphis from last year. We were waxing lyrical about him also. But Pogba seems to be, I think he was about 70% fit. How important do you think Pogba is going to be to this Manchester United side this year? Are we already putting too much pressure on him, or do you really think he is that good?
I think he definitely really is that good. I mean, we saw the other day, I know it's only Southampton, it was at Old Trafford, but he just seemed like the best player on the pitch by a country mile, and he was only at like 60-70%. I just thought he was absolutely brilliant. He was really sloppy with some of his passes, like notably his first pass didn't nearly lead into a goal, but once he got into the swing of things, he was taking it around players like there was no tomorrow. Sky Sports at the end of the game showed like the stats, and he was topping most of the stats. But a really interesting thing was he was third out of everyone on the pitch in distance covered when he hasn't played since the European Cup final, and he's had 10 days training, and he managed to play shockingly to everyone the full game basically. Well, no, not basically. He did play the full game, and Henry said if it wasn't for Zlatan scoring the 2 goals that he'd be his man of the match. I personally would have put Bay as my man of the match, but he was absolutely brilliant. I think he's going to be our most important player this season along with Zlatan.
Okay, and whilst I try and get them back, they have lost slightly there. I'll go to you, Key. Your first opportunity on the United Stand. Welcome to the channel. Paul Pogba, what were your thoughts about him on Friday? And I mean, I suppose the question is how good is he going to be for Manchester United? Is he going to be our star man?
Well, firstly, I was really impressed. I did not expect that level of performance, like you said, with only 10 days worth of training. I think he just proved what an asset he's going to be. I think the main thing for him, which is something I don't even know whether we've ever had it, is a midfielder who's box to box, who actually drives the whole team forward. Maybe Keane in his heyday could do something similar, but slightly more defensive. But I think it's bringing the team through the transition of defence to attack. And I mean, he's just a beast, isn't he? 2-3 men on him. No one can stop him. He's got the touch. He's got the quality about him. A few of his shots were wayward, but that will come. And I think he will be the man who's going to make a huge difference to the team overall this season, and hopefully for quite a few years to come as well.
Good. I wanted to get the Pogba thing out of the way because I thought he was superb myself on Friday. I think he was 70%. I think he's going to get better and better. And what really pleased me is I've been saying it for a few weeks, and those of us who know a bit about Pogba, he had the most take-ons in Serie A last year, and I think that might have been a surprise to some. It's just how good he is on the ball at running past people. He is. There's no question. I mean, maybe he could be the number 10, but I think he's in the number 10. He's too far up the pitch. Defensive midfield restricts him. He's got to be number 8, box to box. So he plays there, moves. We're ramping it up a bit. There's some good topics to get into tonight. The next one is defensive midfield. I put a poll out. In fact, I'll tell the lads they won't know what the result for the poll was, but it was basically who would be your defensive midfielder. This went out on Twitter. I put four options up there, of which Fellaini was obviously one. Carrick was another, Schneiderlin was another, and Fosu Mensah was another. I will tell the poll and the viewers now live what the result for that was. When I checked it, well, quite surprising really. Nearly 2,000 votes, considering it only went out half an hour ago. 8% went for Carrick, 44% went for Schneiderlin, 23% for Laney, and 25% for Fosu Mensah. It's interesting that the lad who holds that position at the moment, Alex Fellaini, is still only third in the majority of Manchester United fans' opinion. He'd be fourth for me. Everyone knows where I stand on it, and I'm not going to be hypocritical. But we know who's in there, who holds that baton, so to speak, at the moment. It is Fellaini. But would you change that at the moment, or are you hankering after somebody else?
I don't think at the moment you can really justify changing it, because Fellaini has played really well so far. But me and Key have actually discussed at work a few times about this, and I think we both decided that in a dream world, Fosu Mensah would be the person we both pick to partner Pogba, but neither of us think it's going to happen. I really don't think it's going to happen. I've read that he's going to be back up to Valencia at right back, which I know Kieran feels strongly about because he doesn't think we should play him out of position, and how at youth level his main position was centre mid. But if you would have spoken to most people, and as that poll even suggested at the start of the season, Jose seems to be, I know we have Hull between then, but they're not really going to provide much of a midfield challenge to really test him to see how good he can be there.
Yeah, Tox Kazim.
Waiting to happen, and is that going to cost us points? I actually, although I agree, and we've said it at work, and I don't want him to play at right back. I want him to be a defensive central midfielder. Fosu Mensah, I would actually integrate him into the team, maybe in the cup matches, maybe in the Europa League. But I would actually go for Schneiderlin. We bought him at Southampton. Obviously, it's a different team, a different level of club. But he was a decent player, and I think he has got it in his locker. And playing in the team that we've got now with Mourinho's tactics, I actually think he could be an asset to us. Obviously, I don't know what it is. Jose's got his reasons, and at the end of the day, he's the manager. We've got to respect it. I think with Jose, he likes a lot of physicality and he likes a lot of height in the team, which is something we've never ever had. But if I were the manager, I'd put Schneiderlin in that position at the moment. And just get him to do exactly what Fellaini's doing, because he has got a lot more quality on the ball, and with the way we're setting up at the moment, he hasn't really got to pay too many forward passes. He can just lay it off to Pogba, and he'll drive us forward 30 yards. So I would use Schneiderlin if I was in charge.
Well, you're not in the minority. As I said, the poll, 44%, I think it was, wanted Schneiderlin. I'm going to come into this a little bit later in the show, and I'm doing the extra time thing if anyone wants to tune in for that afterwards, where I'm going to really let loose on Fellaini, but I'm being a bit more professional today. I did watch the game twice. I sort of was messaging Alex about this earlier. I'm going to go to the lads, and I'll give them a few seconds just to think about this. If you had to take 3 players out of the current Manchester United team and replace them with 3 players who aren't in it, just have a quick think, and I'm going to come to you on that. For me, it would be Rooney, Mata, and Fellaini. They would be the 3 I would take out. I'd move Mata to number 10. I'd put Mkhitaryan on the right, and I'd change Fellaini for Schneiderlin. Fellaini in that second half against Southampton, I thought he played well against Bournemouth, but the second half against Southampton, I thought he was crap, to be honest. Maybe not crap, that's not fair. I'd say 6 out of 10. But what happened is, and I saw it more when I watched the game the second half, Southampton actually had a decent game. They just were very wasteful. But they put Redmond on Fellaini, and he just kept running past him. And I thought I noticed it the first time, but the second time I watched the game, it was ridiculous. He was doing him for pace, he was running past him. And I think, fair play, Fellaini is definitely playing the best I've ever seen him in a United shirt, which after 3 years and the money he's earned is about time. However, Jose, he might be doing miracles, but he's not God, not quite. And you can't turn a player who's slow, can't pass the ball, and he's a dirty git, like Kai said. Well, he didn't say dirty git, I'll add that on. He will be a red card waiting to happen. So I don't want him to be a defensive midfielder. I'm going to have to put my neck on the line, because I know a lot of people are backing Fellaini at the moment. But I'm going to have to stick by what I've said for the last 3 years, and that is that he's not good enough, and we won't win a title with him. But again, a third manager, he manages to stay, and Pereira doesn't get picked. I don't know what's going on there. But next topic then, transfer news. Obviously, we still have a week left of the transfer market. I'd say there's 3 players that sort of might happen at the moment. Just quickly though, I did ask the lads a question there. Go on, Alex. What 3 would you take out and put in if I'm forcing you to do it?
If I had to, I would take out Rooney, Mata, and Fellaini for Fosu, because I'm really biased because I really want him to play in midfield next to Pogba. Mkhitaryan at 10, and then Rashford at right wing. I know he's primarily a striker and he will be a striker, but he can run at players and he's a really good finisher, and I just want him to get some minutes on the pitch. And if it wouldn't be Rashford, it would have to be Lingard, so I'm just going to pick Rashford over Lingard for that.
Okay, somebody in the live comments there just saying they'd get rid of Rojo, Jones and somebody else. They're not even in the team. I think they've missed the question. It's 3 out of the team at the moment. I'm forcing you. Key, who would you go for?
Yet again, Fellaini out. As much as I do want to play Fosu Mensah, he's still 18 or 19. I don't think he'll be quite ready to play a full season. Schneiderlin would come in. Rooney would come out. Although I haven't been that critical, and Alex will probably tell you that on him. Tell you that about me. But I would still get rid of him. I'd bring Mkhitaryan in. I'd put Mata at number 10. And then the last one, maybe a bit controversially, I'd remove Blind, who's been playing really well, and he leads the game. Probably the best in our whole squad at reading the game. But I still don't think he's a centre back. And I think if we come up against a team that, say for instance, has 2 quick strikers, someone like Leicester, I think we could come undone. I know he's not a big fan of him, but I'd bring Smalling in to replace him.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I can't personally disagree. I've not been critical of Blind. He's a very good utility squad player, but for me, again, I just don't think you can win a title with Blind as a centre back, because I think he makes mistakes, and I think that's part of the reason we're having to put up with Fellaini at the moment, is because Fellaini is cutting off the long ball into Blind's channel where he'll get done for pace. Smalling I'd much rather see play, and then we can play a better defensive midfielder who's more dynamic, but Jose is the manager. Coming on to transfer news, hopefully Key hasn't changed his opinion, or maybe Alex was lying to me in the first place, but you were meant to be on last week. Apparently you're a big fan of Fonte. Probably not the best time to be a big fan of Fonte, because he got absolutely destroyed, didn't he, on Friday. But transfer news wise, there's probably 3. I do think we will sign some more players, maybe 1. The 3 that look likeliest, the most likely, I don't think we're going to sign all 3 at the moment, seem to be Barbosa, who's the forward-come winger who's just won the gold with Brazil, Fabinho, the Monaco right-back, Fonte, obviously the Southampton centre-back who ended up in the net with the ball after Zlatan headed him in there on Friday night. But go to you, Keith. I mean, defend yourself about Fonte if it's not true what Alex has said. That
can I quickly, before he speaks, can you include at the end of when you speak about it, Key, who you said to me who would be the main person you chose apart from Fonte, but he's Portuguese as well?
No, I didn't say that. I said he was available, so I would have him on a free. He's one of Jose's boys. Firstly, on to Fonte. I've been totally misquoted. I'm not a huge fan of him. All I'm saying is, at the end of the day, it appears he's available. And in terms of centre-backs who you're going to get this late in the transfer window, he's an option. At the end of the day, we've got 3 frontline central defenders. And one of them, I've just mentioned, I don't think is a frontline central defender at all in Blind. We've got Bailly, and then we've got Mike. So we need a 4th one, because I'm sorry, if 2 of those guys get injured, I'm really shaking in my boots at the thought of either Rojo or Jones going and playing at centre back. Both of those 2 are they're totally shit. So I would get Fonte. I don't think he's a great player. I think he's a steady window. I think he's a steady. He's a steady. We've got 3 front. Oh, sorry, I'm getting a bit of feedback there.
No, it's me. Don't worry, it's me.
He's a steady centre back. He knows the Premier League. He can speak the language. He'll fit in. I agree. Last Friday was a dreadful performance from him. But at the end of the day, he got bullied by probably the most powerful player in the league. And to me, he would be the 4th choice to come in. He's just a backup. In terms of the other guy, I saw Carvalho there. Once again, Carvalho is just a stopgap. At the end of the day, playing for Portugal over the Euro, I didn't think he did that bad. He's a player I think he's 38 now. Of course, he's just going to be a stopgap. But at the end of the day, he's still better. I would still put Ricardo Carvalho in my team over both Jones and Rojo, and we've got to think we're going to get injuries. We've got them the past few years, which is one of the only reasons that Rashford's in the position that he's in now due to injuries. If that happens, these two players are better than what we've got there as third or fourth or fifth choice.
Yeah, MUFC Jonathan saying Mustafi. I bet he'll end up going to Arsenal, but I wouldn't mind him. But I tell you what, lads, I'd take you two over Jones and Rojo. So I do agree. It'd be nice to have a fourth centre back. I suppose. I mean, on the subject of Fonte, I've been quite adamant that I wouldn't want him. He's 33 in December, and I think a lot of people's stance on him is to be a really good, experienced centre back. I personally don't think he's better than. Well, I think I'll go to you, Alex. I think what's made it less Fonte less of an attraction, I suppose, is that Bay's just done something. I thought he'd be good, but I mean, considering it took Vidic 6 months to get used to the Premier League, this lad's just gone straight into it, and he's arguably our number one centre back now. When realistically, I thought he'd be battling, waiting for Smalling would be number one.
Jose himself, I think, has said that he thought that he was going to have to ease Bay into the team, but he's just come in and hit the ground running, because he said he never doubted his ability, but he doubted whether he'd be able to come into such a big club with all this expectations straight away and hit the ground running, which he's done. Absolutely brilliant. I mean, he was man of the match against Leicester, man of the match against Bournemouth, and you could have even given him, I feel, man of the match against Southampton. I know there were more offensive players that were in the running, which, don't get me wrong, for the rest of the season I would rather offensive players get man of the match over our centre backs or goalkeeper like it has been in the past. But he's been an absolute revelation, and I know we can't really judge that much off such a small amount of games. Key keeps on telling me to calm my expectations down, because every time I see him play I just speak about it at work for the next week how damn good he is. But I'm just so excited about him. He just looks like what we've been missing for so long since Rio and Vidic left. And I think if he keeps up the current form he is in, then he has to be considered our number one centre-back, and it's just who we get to go alongside him. And in terms of Fontaine stuff, I just don't know whether it's... I would take him over the likes of Jones or Rojo, but are we linked with him to bring him in as a starter or as a squad player? That's just what I'm confused about, because I don't know if he'd come in to just sit on the bench. Sorry, what was that last bit, Alex? I just lost you off screen. Oh, sorry. With Fonte, I don't know whether we're signing him to be a starter or to be a squad player, because is he going to come and leave being captain of a Premier League club to just sit on our bench and do nothing? Yeah, that's a very good point, because I think, to be honest, Bay's obviously better than him. I think Smalling's better than Fonte, and Blind at the moment is doing very well, as much as I wouldn't back him. So my personal stance is, if you're going to sign a centre back, you sign centre backs who are going to challenge your best two. My issue with Fonte is I thought he was, maybe just had a bad game on Friday, but he is better than that. But I think 33 in December, I've just never really... I prefer Van Dijk, who's obviously next to him. I prefer Ashley Williams, and I never wanted him. But what about right back, Key? Fabinho, I don't know whether you know much about him. Herrera, I think, is being affected by the fact that Fellaini's taken his place. He's coming out with some fantastic comments at the moment. His latest one is that Valencia is the best right back in world football. Do you think we need a right back? You happy? I mean, that's another thing I would say. Again, watching the game on Friday night, Southampton had a good couple of chances in the box that came down our right hand side. Wasn't always Valencia's fault, Mata as well, but I just think positionally you've got to be able to defend, and Valencia worries me. He's good. He's got a good cross on him for once. He's doing these little dinky hold-up crosses that Zlatan loves, which is a major asset. But I think defensively he might drop us in a few problems. But that's just my point of view. I don't know loads about Fabinho, but he is a right back.
I don't know much about Fabinho at all, but at the end of the day, and I don't know, this is just a stereotype, isn't it? But he's Brazilian, so I would worry that maybe he's not the best defensively, but he's magnificent going forward. And then is he just another Valencia? I don't know whether we do now. I don't want Fosu Mensah playing at right back, but I definitely have him as a backup. And then we've got Darmian there. I just don't understand why Darmian isn't getting any game time. But then again, the manager is the manager. I've got total faith in Jose. He's picking Valencia, but once again, it's the same as with Blind. Then to me, we've got two players who are sort of, they're just, well, they've metamorphosized into these positions over the past year or two, when one of them's not a centre-back, one of them's not a right-back, they're not playing their natural positions. Eventually, if we play the full 38 games of the Premier League season, they're going to get found out once we get decent opposition. You know, the thought of, say, Mahrez playing against Valencia scares the life out of me. I don't think he should be playing. I think Darmian should be in there, but it's a hard one with the right back. I would stick with what we've got in right back in terms of right backs, because how much would Fabinho be?
I think it's about 20 million.
I wouldn't spend another 20 million on a right back.
Yeah. It is a fair point. I mean, just looking at some of the comments, sort of picking up on while you were talking there. It's Mikey Booth, if Valencia gets injured, who takes his place? Edgar Mark, Valencia is amazing, needs to work on defensive positioning though. I mean, that's sort of the issue for me. A right back should defend first. But we'll see what happens in relation to that. I mean, what surprises me, Alex, is that Jose came out with this, I only like specialists in specialist positions, and I look at the team at the moment and you can't complain. We're top of the league effectively with 2 wins, but Blind's best position for me is a left back. Mata's best positions are number 10. Fellaini's not a defensive midfielder, his best positions are number 10, and Valencia's not a right back. So we've got 4 players who for me are playing out of position. But you don't think we'll sign anybody anyway, do you?
Nah, to be honest, Jose's always said that he had 4 key positions, but then in his press conference, to be fair, the other day, he said, well, the window closes at whatever date it was, so I think he basically said that we are still in the market, but I just don't see us signing. Like, I know we're linked with Barbosa and stuff, I don't think we'll sign him. I don't see really the point in signing him. You see so many, like, the next big Brazilian is linked as the new Neymar, the next big Argentinian's always linked as like the new Messi, but they never really turn out to be it. And I don't think we'll sign Barbosa. And to be fair, I wouldn't really want us to, because I don't want us to hinder Rashford, because I think Rashford has the potential to be so damn good. If we do bring another signing in, I think it will only be Fonte. I don't think it will be a right back. And I just don't know why, like Key said, that why we aren't playing Darmian, because I thought that Jose would be able to get the best out of Darmian, because he started the season off last year when we signed him really well for like the first 10 games, was it? And then we played, ironically enough, Southampton, and they just absolutely destroyed him down his side of the pitch, and then he never really recovered from it. And then Alexis absolutely bullied him as well down his side, and then he just... It could be down to Van Gaal's management that he never really fully recovered from, but he always seemed to struggle against pace, which is maybe what Jose's worried about. But in terms of Valencia, I don't know what the hell happened to him. He randomly this season learned how to cross. Why hasn't he been doing that for the last few years? But he's been putting in some brilliant crosses every single game. So against the smaller teams at least, I'd definitely be playing him. And then you could maybe think about putting Fosu in against the teams where we need to be more defensively compact. But
I'll tell you what, though, I've got a novel idea. Why not play Valencia as a right winger, being as that's his position, and then he can put a cross in. Just to pick on that cross thing, because his crossing, he used to just blast it along the floor, didn't he? Before his injury, it wasn't that bad. The reason his crossing he's so effective at the moment is it's actually not a very good cross that he's putting in. It's a hold-up cross. The reality is we've got the biggest, strongest player on the pitch in the box, and that's why it suddenly becomes a threat. A quick cross for Zlatan, who's not that fast, but hanging it up, he is deadly. So it does work really well. But my argument would be play him on the right wing. But we just have to see that. I mean, one thing I was just sort of picking up on there. Somebody said, "Can you talk about Memphis?" Which I'm going to go to Key about now. But if you look at, actually, we've just mentioned Darmian there. Schneidlin's the player collectively we'd probably like to be our defensive midfielder. I'm going to talk about Memphis there. That's 3 players. Schweinsteiger training with the kids. That's 4 players. Rojo can't even get on the bench. That's 5 players. That's 5 of Louis van Gaal's signings that are just not getting a look in at all with Jose. In fact, the only one who is, unless I'm getting it mistaken, is Daley Blind. And I think he was probably only playing because Smalling was injured, suspended, and he's come in. It looks like it's a cull of of Van Gaal's signings by Jose, to be honest, and maybe that's what's doing Darmian and Schneidlin a lot of harm. But on the subject of Memphis, Key, not on the bench yesterday, was on the bench against Bournemouth. Ashley Young was available, wasn't on the bench. Not on the bench against Southampton, and Ashley Young comes in. You wonder, I mean, he had a bit of a cameo against Bournemouth at the end, which I didn't think was too bad, but then he's off the bench for Ashley Young. What do you think is going on with Memphis?
I think personally he was totally mismanaged last season by Van Gaal. It's rumoured his confidence, and that seeped over into this season as well. I mean, he started off, he's a confidence player. At the end of the day, Pogba is as well. You know, they're both a bit flash. They've both got big egos. I've been saying to Alex, I actually really like Memphis, and I want him to do well, and I think he's got the potential to maybe even be world class, and I want him to have a chance. It's just, at the moment, it's hard to accommodate him in the team. I was saying to Alex the other day at work, maybe, I thought Martial, I don't know if this was going to be the topic, but I thought Martial against Southampton, that's the worst I've seen him play for United. I thought he gave the ball away a bit. He had a few chances. He got into the positions, but he wasn't ice cold like he was last season. I don't know whether it's the thing with his misses. I don't know whether it's the thing over the number 9 shirt. But there seems to be a bit of a mental block there. It's hard though as to whether you're going to drop him and potentially ruin his confidence going forward, or maybe Jose can put his arm around him and say, do you know what, have a rest for 2 or 3 matches. And, you know, get over your personal issues and come back refreshed, firing on all cylinders, and potentially then give Memphis the chance. It's hard though, because obviously we've got matches, especially the City match coming up, where I wouldn't play Memphis. But I just think overall he's a sort of player you need to give him game time. As soon as he scores 1 goal and he's playing regularly, we'll see a totally different player. It's just really, really hard to accommodate him in the team with all the forward players and all the sort of wing players and number 10 type players that we've got at the moment.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, we did talk about this at the start of the season as well. There are going to be players you're going to go, where's Memphis? Where's Darmian? You know, where was Carrick? I don't think he was on the bench the other night. You know, at the moment, we're playing 1 game a week and we've got a very big squad of very experienced players. I mean, I'm going to leave the youth thing for a few weeks and see what happens. But what I will keep saying is Rashford and Fosu Mensah are not Jose Mourinho's youth products. They are Van Gaal's. He has got to bring somebody else in this season. And for me, I think Twansibi's the one. But there's a comment on here. A load of you said Anthony Martial was a Van Gaal signing. And obviously, he's in the first team as well. He is. But Key picked up on that quite nicely, that he's not playing that well, is he? But there's a comment here. Sorry about this condemned legacy, but you've sort of set me up for a line here. He said, Ashley Williams would have been a great signing for us. With him alongside Bailly, we would have been absolutely solid. With Ashley Williams in our defence, I think we'd be as solid as me after a night on the curry the next morning. Does that make sense? Diarrhea, but vulgar. But Alex, what I want to talk about for the next topic is sort of a bit of reality bites. We like to, I like to be a bit real about things, and we beat Bournemouth last week. I thought they were awful. We beat Southampton on Friday, who I don't think they deserve to win, because we were clinical and we've beaten both sides by 2 clear goals. They need 2 goals just to get a draw out of us. However, what people might not be aware of is that in the last 2 games, let me get this right, in the last 2 games, I'm not going to do possession stats. We had 90% possession with Van Gaal and we were rubbish, so we're not doing that. But shots on goal, I think, are quite telling. So in the Bournemouth game, we had, let me get this right, we had 12 shots. No, this is the Southampton game. We had 12 shots on goal, of which 12 shots at goal, 5 on target. Southampton had 13, so 1 more, but they only had 1 on target. And then in the Bournemouth game, we had 11 shots, 7 on target. Bournemouth had 9, 3 on target. So sort of fair in a game sense. I suppose what I'm getting at is that, are we slightly paper in the cracks? We've spoke a bit about, Fellaini in the defensive midfield, Rooney, who we've not really touched about tonight, but I thought was atrocious against Bournemouth, and I would give him 6 out of 10 against Southampton. Yes, he assisted a goal, but as I said, he had the freedom of Manchester, and a player of his quality should put a good cross in from there. From what I saw of the game, Southampton were hitting us on the break a lot because the ball was breaking down at number 10. I've already spoken about Fellaini being slow and then putting Redmond and Tadic around him, and they were getting away with him. Southampton had some decent chances. I just felt they were a bit wasteful. We obviously deserved to win the game. But when I look at Southampton and Bournemouth, I could easily name for you 8 teams in the Premier League who are better than them. I think we will beat Hull next week. I think, Hull have done really well to get 6 points, but we will beat Hull next week. So I think you've got Pogba and Zlatan in there. What they bring is a clinical edge. But the City game, and I suppose cut it short. I'm not getting too carried away. We've had a really good start. The games were slightly closer when you look at the stats, especially the Southampton one. And I still think there might be trouble ahead. I don't know what you think.
I get them not getting carried away and everything, but I think I'm actually loving how we're playing at the moment, how we're not having all these... Like, under Van Gaal, in those same games, we'd have had like 65-70% possession now, and I guarantee you we would have created less chances. You saw last season, what were we, like 19th in terms of chances created, something ridiculous like that, but we were like first in possession because we just played such boring safe side was passing the entire game. It was just dreadful to watch. I think the main problem with our attack at the moment is how slow it is on the counter-attacks. We seem to be set up to hit teams on the counter, yet aside from Pogba and Martial on the break, the rest of them are really slow. That might change if we bring in the likes of Rashford, Lingard, even Mkhitaryan to an extent. But with Rooney, Zlatan and Mata in the team at the moment, it's too slow on the break. Obviously, I'd never drop Zlatan because he's our goal scorer and he's always going to be our main threat up top. But with Rooney or Mata, I think eventually we need to be phasing them out for people with a little bit more pace and creativity in terms of both of them. I know people think that Mata is like really creative and everything, and in the past he has been, but I think Mkhitaryan, judging off last season, if you put them both together, he's obviously a lot more creative. But our attack seems to have more purpose every single time we do attack now. That you're not going to change everything over the night. It's only been 2 games in. I think we're well on the way. I'm happy that we're playing City early in a way because Pep isn't going to have his philosophy installed yet, and we're not going to have ours. But it's at Old Trafford first. Under Van Gaal, we drew with them last time and then beat them the time before at Old Trafford. So we should be going into this with confidence. I think the hype is going to be before the game, like Zlatan against Aguero, which I do worry about Aguero because he always seems to score against us. But we can't really judge this team until the City game because that will be our first real test.
Yeah, some people in the comments there just on about Aguero as well. If you're in the United Stand Fantasy Premier League, it is ridiculously competitive. I think I did quite well and I'm still in 60th position. There's about 500 people separated by 10 points, so it will spread itself out, but I'm glad Negredo got a couple of assists today. But key, in relation to what we were talking about there, Alex is obviously very, very positive. I'm ecstatic. I don't like reading in the live comments that I'm being too critical. I'm not being critical. As I said at the start, I'm being real. I don't think Bournemouth are a very good side. I think Southampton were very wasteful. Should have scored at least 1 goal. But we deserved to win both games because we took our chances and we were clinical. I just think at the moment, Leicester won the league last year, so we could carry Rooney, Fellaini, Blind, Mata on the right all season. And I do think we are carrying them to an extent because, especially in the case of Rooney, he's our number 10. But when you've got the likes of Pogba and Zlatan, and then if Martial comes to the party and you get Mkhitaryan on the right, you can carry a player. But I think there's going to be a bump in the road ahead. I hope it will be after City.
Yeah, well, Alex has told me a few times that I'm the most negative United fan he's ever met, and I don't think I am. What I think I am is I'm very cautious, like what you're saying, Mark. One thing I will say is I don't want Rooney to play. I don't want Fellaini to play. I don't think Mata's been deployed correctly, and even at number 10, I agree totally with what Alex is saying. We haven't got enough pace in attack, which it could change. Mkhitaryan isn't the fastest, but he's a lot faster than Mata as far as I can see. And somehow, once again, if we could accommodate Memphis, that adds a lot of pace back to the attack, as well as Rashford, obviously. Although I do want Rashford to play up front personally. But going back to what I was going to say, I think a lot of times you just got to put your faith in the manager. Now, there's been
two managers, obviously one that wasn't great for us, but at the end of the day, Louis van Gaal had a rubbish philosophy, and this as well is what's hampering us. Our players have had 2 years where every single interview that Van Gaal ever gave, it was always philosophy. That's what he said every single time. They've had it drilled into their heads. So it takes a lot of time for that to be worked out of them, number one. And number two, we've got a situation here with players like Rooney, with players like Fellaini, even Mata playing on the right. You've got managers that continually pick players in those positions. So as much as we don't want Rooney to play, he always plays for England. Obviously, that's just maybe through his name. But he always plays for Van Gaal. And he seems like Mourinho likes him. Remember, a couple of years ago, Mourinho wanted to buy him when he came back to Chelsea. I think we just need to get our head around the fact that, number one, Rooney is definitely going to play. And if it is the case that Fellaini got quite a lot of playing time last year under Van Gaal, he's getting playing time now, not even coming off in the second half under Mourinho. And also at the Euros, he was playing for Belgium, who've got some fantastic midfielders. Maybe there's something there that the manager's seeing that we're not seeing. I'm a bit apprehensive. I've always got it at the back of my mind, like you said, Mark, that there's a bump in the road. But all I can say at the moment is, while results are positive, let's just keep faith in the manager, because I don't think we can do anything else at the moment.
No, you're right. And I do want to sort of pick up on that and say, I'm not being negative in the sense that we are winning. What will happen is week on week we will play better, because Jose's only been here for over a month, and I think what I'll sort of give the lads a little bit of time to think about it before I come back to them. I mean, for me, United probably are the best team in the Premier League at the moment. I've seen everybody. Chelsea have scraped results. City have scored a lot of goals, but in both games they could have drew. We've been the most clinical, and I think I do think we deserve to be up there. I think we'll beat Hull, like I said. I think City at home, we should be looking to beat that. But a few people getting annoyed in the comments. GTF and Ballati says, Mark, with all due respect, you're talking rubbish. Blind is our best centre-back. I agree. When I say we're carrying somebody, I don't care what anybody else does. It's all about opinion. I had an argument with somebody about this on Twitter today. I don't base my opinion on 2 games. People are constantly asking me, when are you going to do a video apologising about Fellaini? I said, when a pig flies past my window, I might think about it. But to be honest, he's been pretty bad for 3 years in a United shirt. If he's still playing the same way he is at the moment, at Christmas, and he's our defensive midfielder, you might get a Christmas present video of me saying he's not been too bad. I'm not going to make my mind up after 2 days. I'm not going to change my opinion about Blind because he played well against 2 inferior teams either. I think Blind is a brilliant utility player, but I think you put him up against someone like Harry Kane or funnily enough, Spurs did obliterate him, didn't he? But I think he'll get found out. And I think Blind as a centre-back is a 7 out of 10 centre-back. When you compare him to what we need, we probably need a 9 out of 10. He's doing fantastically well at the moment, but I don't have a short-term view. I look at a season and I think there are issues in our side. I think Key picked up on them perfectly. Mata's being played out of position. Valencia's defensively suspect. Blind will make mistakes, and obviously Fellaini wouldn't be my defensive midfielder, and Rooney's being carried. That's 5 positions. You can't win a title based on that, but Leicester did it. Funnily enough, I think you could change 3 of them, and if you had Mkhitaryan on the right, you had Fabinho coming in at right back, and you put Mata at 10, I think you could probably carry Fellaini and Blind, because it's only 2, but at the moment we're probably carrying too many. But I'm easily talking way long term. I'm not talking about the start. It's been fantastic. So going back to that, I'll go to Key this time. Are we the best team in the Premier League at the moment from what you've seen? Would you be worried by anybody?
But from what I've seen, we are definitely the best team so far. I'd say in terms of squad, as much as it pains me to say it, I actually think that City's squad still has more quality than ours overall. What I think is I've never rated Pep. I just think he's a one-trick pony. He's been at Barca and he's been at Bayern, 2 huge clubs that have real appeal to most players in the world, where he's had 2 fantastic squads in leagues that, it's 2-team league in La Liga, or 3-team league if you look at Atletico, but pretty much a 1-team league in Bundesliga. Okay, so he's done well in Europe with Barca as well, but they are pretty much the best team in the history of club football. At Bayern, if you look at the Champions League, I don't think he ever did as well there as what he should have done with the squad that he had. And I mean, this rubbish. As soon as they've got the ball, you see Sagna and Clichy coming into the central midfield positions, almost like an old right half and left half if you look at football from the 50s. That's absolute rubbish, and I don't think it's going to work in the Premier League over the course of 38 games. I think we've actually looked out in a way that Pep has come, because he's going to continue to do what he's going to do. He's like a younger version of Wenger. Even when his team is a goal down in the last couple of minutes, he's never going to change their style of play. And hopefully, I'm thinking that over the course of the season, potentially we are going to come out on top. I am really, really excited about this season. I just, like you said before, want us to sort out the positions. And going back to what I think you mentioned earlier on, Mark, we're fitting a lot of square pegs into round holes at the moment. Sort that out, get the specialists in, and I think we are definitely in the money. Then as soon as we do that, then hopefully we can start integrating Fosu Mensah, Marcus Rashford, and also Tuanzebe into the teams. I've got really high hopes for Tuanzebe as well.
Yeah, definitely. Good points. I mean, what I would just say before I go to Alex, I know he'll have a bit to say about City, is I do think that the start to our season has been fantastic. However, as I said a few minutes ago, I think there's at least 8 teams better than the 2 we've played so far. So we've got bigger tests to come. But if I'm saying that about United, City start, Stoke, who tend to start the season badly under Hughes, and Sunderland, who are absolutely going to get relegated now. They've got Moyes' rubbish side. So City have not been tested either, and really good tactical analysis from Key there. I just think City will get found out defensively very, very soon. I think they've got West Ham next week. They're at the Etihad. I wouldn't be surprised if West Ham did them. Forget all your changes. The one thing I want to see, and I hope we will see next week against Hull, because if he doesn't play next week against Hull, I don't think Mourinho would dare make any big changes for the City game, is Mkhitaryan's got to play. Mkhitaryan has got to play on the right. I love Mata, but Mkhitaryan, I mean, even them glimpses yesterday, he has got... I can't understand that, Alex. I can't understand it. Why is he not playing?
I have absolutely no clue why he's not playing. Jose tried to justify it, something to do with Lingard's pace against Leicester, and then Mata's something to do with their pressing. Key understood it better than me. We spoke about it. Something about their pressing. How Mata. Oh yeah, that was it. That Mata doesn't. Mata, they can push further forward with Mata, because Mata hasn't got the pace to hit them on the counter, so it leaves them open like that. But I have to just touch upon what Key said in terms of City squad. I have to disagree with him. I truly think that we do have the best overall squad in the league. If you look at squad depth, I think if you take Aguero, KDB and basically actually just them two out of that City team, then they're really not all that at all. And I think when you look at us, I think we have the best centre midfielder in the league by an absolute landslide. That's not even debatable with Pogba. I think
Fellaini.
I think Aguero is the best striker in the league, but I think Zlatan's the second best. We have unquestionably the best keeper in the league, and then I can't really say what I want to say, but in terms of defenders, but from what we've seen of him in the first 2 games, he's going to be up there this season as one of the best defenders in the league, judging off early season form. And I think if you were to look, every good Premier League winning team has a good spine, and I think if you were to look at our spine of De Gea, Bay, Pogba, Zlatan, and compare it to every other spine in the league, I think we have the best spine in the league by quite some distance. And then you have offset of that spine, the likes of Mkhitaryan, who's not even making our bench at the moment. But obviously we talk about City, but one other not even a dark horse, possible favourite for the league could be Chelsea, because they don't have the European football that is going to end up tiring out United and tiring out City as the season goes on. But they've been ridiculously lucky this season so far, with Costa should have got sent off twice and he ends up scoring the winner twice.
I think Conte will do really well, but I think he's got so many mercenaries in his team that it'd be amazing if they can win the league. But we're going to wrap it up there. I think it's been a really good show. Thanks to Key and Alex, which I'll go to in a minute. I'm wrapping it up because I've got to get over to the United Stand extra time thing. I think I've been on really good behaviour. I'm going to go over there and just release Fellaini hate. But as you know, you've got to subscribe to that. So there you go. I don't want to upset the regulars. But thanks for coming on, Key. Really good debut. Hopefully you will come again. I apologise for everybody watching in relation to there was a bit of lag at the start. That's just a weather thing when you go live. And but thanks for coming on, mate. Hope you enjoyed it.
Really enjoyed it. Hope to be back soon.
Cool. And obviously Alex, as per usual, is on most Sundays. And thanks for coming on, Alex.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Good show, guys.
Okay. Please do drop us a like. It's a new setup. We're using Skype because it means there's not normally as much lag, and it's we can involve you in with the little ticker and the live comments. So if you like this sort of setup for a Sunday night show, please do drop us a like. We've got 3 loads. We discussed everything we needed to do. We could have spoke more and more. One thing I do want to sort of keep in the back of people's minds as we do this weekly, obviously on a Sunday, the youth. Let's keep an eye on it for the moment. I was surprised Rashford didn't come on for the last 20 minutes against Southampton because I thought his pace would have hurt them. He's not had a minute yet, has he, in the real games? And Fosu Mensah's not even on the bench. But as I said, they're not his youth players. I want them to play, but he's got to bring somebody else. That's what it's all about, Jose. But very, very early days. Let's keep an eye on that, though. Thanks everybody for watching. If you want to watch on the United Stand Extra Time, if you have subscribed to it, the link is in the video description. I'll literally be over there in a couple of minutes. But thanks everyone for watching. Really enjoyed it. And we've got some great content coming up for you this week as well. Speak to you all later.